Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Enabling Tech in Action speaker series as part of our Arkansas Enabling Technology pilot program. Really happy today to have Rick Anderson with us from ICAN Arkansas. Before I do a quick introduction of Rick, I also want to let you know that we're going to have a vendor spotlight after Rick's presentation, and it's going to be boundary care. So we'll have Paul Carpenter and Nick Moran from Boundary Care to do the vendor spotlight. So certainly stick around for that as well. So Rick has been working in assistive technology for 24 years. So Rick, you're probably the person I know who's worked the longest in assistive tech, or pretty close. And I mean that as a compliment. And it's been 16 years with ICAN Arkansas. And if you folks don't know what ICAN Arkansas is yet, Rick is here to fill in all the details. And when I learned about it, I thought it's just a great program, and one that other states have as well. So Rick, take it over. I'm going to stop sharing and you can go from there.
Well, thank you for inviting me to come and speak to you guys. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk about our program, I do, because and obviously I'm very vested with it. It is the assistive technology for the state of Arkansas. It's a mandated program by the federal government through ACL to provide assistive technology in the form of loaned reuse, demonstration, technical assistance, basically everything that has to do with assistive technology. We serve all populations, and we don't determine, so everybody qualifies for our program. We're housed within Arkansas Rehab Services, but we serve everybody. So we just have to have a place where we're set. Every state and territory has a Tech Act program or Assistive Technology Act program, but we're all housed a little bit differently. So, and I'll go more into that as we go forward. But, before I get started, I just make sure that everybody understands, and I'm probably with this group of people, this is redundant, but what is assistive technology? Sometimes that term's being used a lot, and no one really understands that meaning. Really, assistive technology can be any type of technology that helps somebody to be more independent. That's the straightforward. It has many different categories, and it can start as mainstream technology and become assistive technology. And what I mean by that, it can be a piece of technology that was designed for one specific group or mainstream population, and then as it's being used, it can be used in an assistive technology kind of setting. And what I mean by that is, like, a good example would be the Alexa Echo, or the Google Dots, and the smart home technologies that were mainstream technologies that are very helpful and useful within the world of disabilities. Another technology that you can see that was started off with like dictation software or voice to text is something that started off in one kind of niche territory, which would be in the medical field for dictation. And then, of course, now everybody uses it across all kinds of different platforms. I mean, I use it every time I text, if I'm in the car or whatever, because, we don't text while we're driving. So voice to text, especially with AI and cloud computing, has become more mainstream, and it's very useful in the assistive technology realm. So that's that in a nutshell. So it can be anything from a weighted spoon or a small device, low-tech device, all the way up to a high-tech communication type of device, or eye tracking system, or high-end complex rehab wheelchair, or something like that. So it's a very big, huge category. So in the education setting, a lot of times when you hear assistive technology, they're talking about a specific technology, and it kind of gets pigeonholed into one thing, which would be communication devices, because those are very expensive, and that's what they're talking about when they're trying to do IEPs and things like that. But assistive technology can also be a spoon that you wrapped a built up foam on it. You know, that is also assistive technology. So we're here to just kind of keep that um, those categories kind of separated, and to be a resource for you guys, for everyone in the state of Arkansas when it comes to things like technology that you're not sure even is out there, or is something that can be adapted and maybe work as assistive technology. So if you take anything away from today, I want you to understand that ICAN is your resource when it comes to assistive technology, whether it's trying to place it within a client's home, or if you're just trying to gather information. So there are all kinds of different technologies that we kind of categorize them in, and that's going to be just to kind of keep track. So we will categorize technologies in smart home technology, in aging in place is what we call it. Like that's where you see those walkers and the activities of daily living things. And then we have the low hearing or low hearing or deaf community technologies. Then there's the technology for low vision and blindness, and then assistive technology in the workplace, and then communication, and then kind of what goes in between there. So a lot of times technologies will move across those two categories. So it's not just a main, you know, there's not just low vision. You know, it could be a low vision, an item that's useful for low vision, but it also works with dyslexia and those kind of things. And that's just from us, you know, working with it every day and knowing those categories. And sometimes we help people to think outside the box when it comes to that. So what is ICAN? And I kind of touched on you know, we are the statewide assistive technology program, and our philosophy is what we call tools for life. It's the tools that you need to do everyday life and all the different categories of living, you know, work, community, home, that kind of thing, education. We serve all Arkansans from birth to death. There's no we don't qualify disability. So you can have an acute disability, like something that just happened. You tore your Achilles heel and you need a knee walker, and you don't want to spend $200, or you don't even know if it's going to work. So maybe you could come to our program and borrow that from us for 6 weeks. So, or it could be something that, you know, is congenital and you were born with, or it's something that's a degenerative disease or something, and you're going to anticipate needing assistive technology, or those assistive technology needs might change over time. And so that's what ICAN's really good for, kind of helping along in that process. So we will, you know, do an informal evaluation when people come in or talk to us on the phone, and try to figure out kind of what is a functional kind of situation of what it is that people are trying to overcome, or what's the goal of bringing assistive technology into that kind of realm. And some people will come in with a preconceived notion of, hey, I need a, you know, a smart pen. But then over over that interview or talking to them, it might be that there's other technologies that will work just as well, or along with that. So we don't care how or what reason you come into the door, but we want to make sure that we give you as much information, or informed choice is what we call it, before you leave. So selecting those types of assistive technology, you know, is going to come with a lot of questions and everything, but we don't really want to call it a eval, because that's kind of a formal term, and a formal evaluation, you know, it goes along with getting things qualified and things like that. And we just don't have the function to be able to do formal evaluations, but we do evaluate. I mean, I'm always evaluating somebody's from the point when they walk in the door, but we don't as a an agency do formal AT evaluations, but we can help you find those. Let's see. Okay, so in the AT kind of realm, while we're talking to people about whatever it is that they're trying to overcome, we want to make sure we stay on track and not get kind of siloed into one area. You know, if we're working on AT at work, but also AT, you need to think about that in the whole picture. And so we'll be talking about, you know, what are some things that you're doing in your hobby, or you know, what is there technology that help you whenever you go to church, or you know, when you're going and meeting people in a social setting. So we try to keep that on the forefront, you know. So it might be mobility in one section and area, but it might be an adapted device for, you know, helping to someone go hunt or to bowl or something like that. So what are our services? That's what the main thing is about ICAN, is we do kind of provide almost two services in one when it comes to getting technology in people's hands. The first one is that we're mandated to provide assistive technology in the form of a loaned equipment, or like a library, where we loan out a piece of equipment for 6 weeks. In Arkansas, we do 6 weeks. And it's no cost, of course, to anybody. We have a library of all kinds of assistive technology, and it's first come, first serve. So if we have it available and you want to borrow it, then you can borrow it. And then if that piece of technology works well for you, then we'll help you to kind of find where you can get that on a permanent basis. But we do not sell to individuals or provide equipment to individuals to place permanently through our device loans. Now we do device reuse, where we take in donated items from all over the state and we make sure it's in good working order, and then we will allow people to have that piece of equipment for permanent. So that's where the permanent kind of solution might come in. But you know, we're dependent on donations from the community. So not, you know, there's not always those technologies available, or we will have like a waiting list for popular technologies like wheelchairs or lift chairs, or things like that that might not be paid for in certain pay sources, but they're a popular item, like things that are in like bathroom items and things like that. So when we take in those donated items, we make sure they're in good working order. They pass what we call the mom test. If it's not something that we would give to our own mom, then it's not something that we keep in our library, basically, is how that works. We found over the years that if we try to keep everything, we end up in a hoarding situation that just doesn't work for anybody. So we have to be pretty scrupulous when it comes to things that are coming in. Even though they still might have some use in their life, it just doesn't work really well in our program. We don't, you know, we don't go out and, you know, when we're making a pickup and somebody's donating, we don't sit there and go, well, we'll take that, but we won't take that. And, you know, we're not going to be like that. But it is, if it's a piece of equipment that is past its use for us, then we pass it on to either scrap metal, to a scrap metal guy or something like that. So we do have an avenue for that. So that's how our device demonstration and recycling services work. We do have some locations in key areas in Little Rock, but we're primarily, in Arkansas, but we're primarily a central distribution model. We're hoping to be more regional in our future. And what I'll explain that in a little bit. So we're a distribution model in that, a centralized distribution model in that people have to come to us in Little Rock to get those items. We cannot deliver items to people. Now we do go out and pick up items, we do have a dedicated staff member that will pick up items for donation, but we can't distribute them by delivering. Now, if it's a small item, we will ship items by UPS to people. If it's under $1,000 or under $500, I'm sorry, or the weight is under 70 pounds, I think is the limit. But we do have some regional partners, and that's where what I was talking about earlier. We're going to try to set up more regional service model because it just works better that way. And other state agencies have figured that out, and they have key areas and parts of the state. So it has to do with size of our program and how our funding is. We run our assistive technology program 100% on our federal funds, so we don't take any state income, and we don't charge for services. So we're running 100% on federal funds. So I have to keep it pretty lean. So with our partners, we just have set up kind of partners with areas that we don't pay for that partnership. It's more of they're willing to provide services through our database, which I'll show you here in a minute. So we'll have kind of a location that's maybe just for one area. So in Northwest Arkansas, I have a partnership with a community living center called Sources, and they'll do just reuse. So they just take in donated items and give them away, but they don't do any loans out of there. But then in Bentonville, I have just a loan program through the special education department in Bentonville, where I place augmentative communication devices up there because it's such a highly densely populated area up there, and those are devices that are $6,000 or more that we can't ship. It's cost prohibitive for us to ship those items to people, and of course it's very hard for them to come down to Little Rock to get an item, and then 6 weeks later to return it back. So we placed those devices up there in Bentonville, and it's worked really well so far for us in providing those services when it comes to that high-end assistive technology in the school. But we provide them to anybody, and that's not just people in Bentonville. So I mean, in the Bentonville School District, it can be anybody in that area. That was the main thing as far as becoming a partner with us, is that we have to serve everyone, not just like schools or entities. We also have a partnership with Arkansas College of Health Education, which is a new college in Fort Smith. And we have a full service location there where we do reuse and demonstrations and loans and all of our stuff in that one location. And then we have a small partnership in Jonesboro with the Communications Disorders Department. And of course, that's augmentative communication in that area. I'm hoping to get more from the OT department so we can start placing activities of daily living items and a more range of items in that area. So we're working on that. Always whenever we're trying to provide assistive technology, we want to reduce as many barriers as possible. That's economic barriers. That's barriers to qualification. And then of course geographic. And geographic is gonna be our own ongoing problem, just because of our funding, and how people, when you go 15 or 20 minutes outside of Little Rock, you're in rural community. So our device loans were 6 weeks. I think I told you that. After the 6 weeks, if there's no one else that's requesting those items, we can do an extension, a one-time extension to basically do another 6 weeks. So people are not going to be able to allow, or we won't be able to allow a piece of equipment to stay more than 12 weeks in their possession. And we just do that because it keeps the availability, basically. If someone tries to use our program as a long-term solution, it just doesn't work very well. We will run out of resources pretty quickly. So I talked about loans and I talked about reuse. Of course, we do device demonstration. It's not going to be any good if we're just placing the piece of equipment and then go, okay, good luck. We've got to be able to demonstrate it, train it, make sure that that person is going to have the best opportunity to use that. And some of that might be in-house demonstration or training, or we will provide trainings if it's like high-end things that are going to take more than one, kind of session. And what I mean is I'll bring a vendor in or have partnerships with our different vendors that provide the assistive technology to help kind of give that support. And then I talked a little bit about technical assistance, and how we provide technical assistance is going to be more in the area of policy change or a policy implementation when it comes to assistive technology. And kind of a good example of that is, I think I told Paul, is we worked with a city that was wanting to do an all-inclusive playground for children that, for all disabilities and ages. And so we kind of helped them to reform some of that policy when it comes to assistive technology or access to the playground, and thinking outside the box and talking about the population that they may be serving and how they need kind of unique things, like a fence that goes all the way around that has only one access. Because if you have kids that are on the spectrum, they're going to run and it's going to be hard to contain. Or that we have to have those play structures that are always covered with shade, because a lot of kids that are have various different disabilities might be on medications that make them photosensitive, and various things like that, communication stuff, and so we help whenever we're forming policy, and that's what we consider as technical assistance. And then a large part of what we do is trying to get education, just getting the word out there about assistive technology, and of course about what the ICAN program provides to everybody. And so we do that through presentations like we're doing today, exhibits. We'll come to small communities and do, workshops and anything like that. So, and any of you guys, if you wanted us to come and set up a table or come and talk to a small group, we're game. That's what we do. That's part of our mandate. So we also are open to the public from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. We do close for lunch between 11:30 and 12:30, but we're pretty much open like a business. And so we can have walk-ins. So if you're in Little Rock and you're wanting to kill a couple of minutes and you want to come by and visit us, we do lab tours and show our stuff off and kind of have like a storefront kind of situation. So we love to have visitors and kind of show people what we have. We do have a section in our warehouse that has all of our reuse or the free items. And sometimes people will come by and do some shopping and look around for things that might be helpful in their community. And we strongly encourage that. So we call it lab tours, but it's walk-ins. We are located at 900 West 7th Street, right across from Vino's, if anybody's aware of Little Rock, just a block from Chester. We are housed within Arkansas Rehab Services, Little Rock location. We share the building. And then in October, we will be moving. So we'll be actually housed within Workforce Services building, which is down on South University. It's a real larger location. and we're consolidating kind of services into that one building. So we're still going to have the showroom and lab area, and it just will be housed in a different spot. All right. So how do people access our program? You can access our program by calling us. I mean, of course, emailing. But the main thing is that I wanted to show you today is we have a database where people can actually create a account with us and actually request items directly from our website. So we give access to people to actually request items directly from us, and then they can come get them, or if it's something that we can ship, and we'll go into those details like I said before. So how does that work? Well, you just go to equipment.ar-ican.org. Basically, it's our website. So here's our website. It tells all about our program and kind of which is ar-ican.org. And if that's all you can remember, you can get in by going to our search or solutions. So you can go straight to our database from this area up in the right-hand corner. Or if you do, like I said, put equipment in front of our web page, then you go to our database, which is what we call Tools for Life. And then you would just go over into the upper left-hand corner and create a login, create an account. And once you create an account with an email and a password, then you can actually start requesting items directly from us. Now, you can still, without creating an account, you can still search our items. It's just you won't be able to request them. So how does it work? You just go up to the top of the page, and I can put in an iPad, and it will show me everything that's associated with iPads that are available. I can go into these categories and kind of, filter them down. We call our location programs. So if you're looking up in Fayetteville or our program here in Little Rock, we also have an AT at Work that's part of our Arkansas Rehab Services programs. And then there's the Bentonville School District and so on. So I'm just going to search in my area. And so we're going to see mounting hardware, different things that associate with iPads. But then you can go and see that there's an iPad that's available. There's 16 items right here. So you can go in and click on that, and then it will tell you if it's available right here for loan. Well, this one right here that I'm looking at is not available till it says 5/23. That's interesting. It should have been returned back. I don't know what's going on there, but it will usually tell you if it's returned, when it's going to be returned, or if it's available and ready to be loaned out. So it looks like most of our iPads are out right now. Whenever school starts back up, that's a pretty popular thing that goes out. So those you're not seeing that in that area. So you would just go in there, search it, and then over in the right-hand corner, you click on it, and it puts it up in your cart up in the right-hand corner. And of course, I'm not logged in, but then that's where you would do your checkout process, and there you go. You're in the queue. Those items are waiting for you. Once you request items and things have been requested or put in your name, we will contact you, but you also, a clock kind of starts. You get 3 working days to come and pick them up or arrange for pickup. We don't hold items more than 3 days because we found, how all policies are made is that people were requesting items and never coming and get them, and then it was holding it up for the next person. So we've got it in policy now. It's 3 working days. And then once person comes and gets it, then their 6 weeks starts from there. So once they sign that loan agreement, then that's where they get that 6 weeks. Now, if there are items that you requested that are free, so I can go back up here into the transactions and then put free items, which there's not any iPads that are free. Once you request those items, so here's a activity chair right now that's free. I mean, those are pretty high-end stuff. Once you request that, it holds your place, and it's not even showing available to the next person. So, and you still have that same 3 working days to come get them. Now, with people requesting items for loan, you have to be a resident of the state of Arkansas and prove that with a state ID or driver's license. And so if somebody is not from Arkansas or can't prove residency by using a utility bill or something, then we are not able to loan them. But we do not, it doesn't matter when it comes to free items. So if it's a person that just came up from Texas and they're wanting one of our items for free, they can have it. We don't qualify that with the free items. It's basically, if you have the need, you can have it. But with the loan program, we have to, that's considered federal property. We have to track that and make sure that it's staying in Arkansas and all that stuff. So it has a little more rules. So that's kind of how our website, our database works, how, we try to make it as easy as possible to access. Of course, not everybody's technically savvy or they have problems creating accounts. So you can always call us. And there's the contact information right there on that menu. You can click on it and actually call us and ask us, hey, I'm really trying to get this piece of equipment, but I can't, it's not working for me or whatever. And we'll go ahead and put a hold on it for you and help you through that process. So that is my program in a nutshell. I don't know if I used up all the time, Paul.
We've got about 7 minutes for questions.
Okay, great. That gives us enough time for questions.
I've got a few here, but certainly want to open it up if anybody on the call has a question for Rick right off the bat. If not, I'll jump in with one. So Rick, one key point. So right now we on the call are members of DHS, members of the PASSes, and members of providers who are in our pilot program. And your program is for individuals, however.
Yes.
So help me and the providers understand if they've got a member who could utilize your services, what's the best way for them to support their member to get in touch with you?
So we run into that same thing with other kind of entities as well, like school districts or rehab centers. They have to kind of point the individual to us, and you can do it in different ways. We've had therapists that actually walk them through the whole process for them. But ultimately, when we do the loan, we can't loan it to the rehab office, right? We have to loan it to an individual. Now, sometimes we will loan items to the therapist. The therapist will use it in their active treatment. And then whenever they determine that the client needs it, then they'll encourage the client to go and get it on their own. And so because we don't want the therapist to take on the risk of giving somebody a wheelchair and then you never hear from them again, because that does happen, unfortunately. And so we want to loan those items directly to the person. So I guess how the passes would work is to try to facilitate them to actually go in and contact us on their own, or they can kind of walk their clients through the process of accessing our database. And then once they kind of get them through that process, then we take it from there. We're willing to work either way, but ultimately we have to, however it makes it easier, we want to reduce barriers, but we do have to make sure that we're loaning it to an individual, because that's just the way our federal mandate is. We don't loan to school districts and, agencies and rehab centers and things like that.
Great.
Does that help?
Yeah, helps me. Hopefully that provides some clarity to the folks on the call as well. Another question. So there's no restriction though on somebody who works for a provider or the past to actually create a account on your website. So if they want to
No.
browse your database, which seems like a good thing for folks to do,
Yes.
hint, hint.
Absolutely. And they can borrow from us, but just be aware that you're borrowing it in your name, not in the past's name. Even though you might put all of your work information in there, that's fine. It's just when you sign that loan agreement, you're signing that you're going to take care of that piece of equipment, and you promise to bring it back. If you don't, then you're going to be, responsible for it. Because we do have people that will take items and they won't bring them back, and so we try every avenue to get it back, but eventually we have to report it as stolen property because it's considered federal and state property.
So if there's an individual who does want to come in and try something out, and I might have missed this if you said it, but do they make an appointment with you to come in at a certain day and time to go through your screening or assessment process, or can they drop in? How does it work?
So we don't require that they make an appointment. If they're wanting to really kind of go through the screening process, we encourage them to make an appointment just to make sure that, because we're a staff of 5, and so we're always out doing, public awareness events and things like that. And so we want to make sure that we have someone here that's knowledgeable about that technology to, of course, walk them through it. But if they're just kind of passing through and they want to come in, they're encouraged to do that as well. It's just we might ask them to come back later if we want to do more extensive, like trying things. But a lot of times they're coming in, they got an idea of 1 or 2 things, and that usually works pretty well so far. So we haven't required that you do in appointments yet. We'll reserve that right.
It'd be a nice problem to have, right? Enough
Right.
demand that you need to sort of schedule everything out. I guess the last question that I had, do you support any equipment that would require a subscription? So like the top of mind is a med dispenser, which you could just use standalone, but maybe there's benefit to like some subscription service with it to get alerts or something like that. How does that work? Do you manage that stuff or not?
We do not, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. We do have a policy in place where if you're getting a mobility device like a powered wheelchair or walking aids, we do require that they have some sort of blessing. Okay, I don't want to say prescription because sometimes that's a indicator of charging services, but we don't. But yeah, medical necessity of some kind, saying that it's okay for them to use that equipment. And why we do that is we don't want to do harm, right? And so if someone comes in requesting a powered wheelchair and we don't have a full kind of knowledge of them, and they have a vision cut and they can't see out of the right side of their vision field, well, that's a problem. And we don't make those formal assessments where we're checking vision and acuity and things like that. And so we have to have a medical professional in those situations say, hey, it's okay, or it's appropriate for them to use this piece of equipment. And so we will require that. But anything that is regulated by the FDA, and like medication and oxygen and CPAP machines and those kind of things, we don't have. We consider those medical devices, not assistive technology. I know there's kind of a blurred line there sometimes for those things, but that's more of a medical or therapeutic device. So that wouldn't be in our realm of service anyway. Does that help?
Yeah, very much. Okay, so that takes us to time, and at least for don't leave everybody because we got section 2 coming up. But thank you, Rick. Really
Absolutely.
informative session, really important service that you're providing in Arkansas.
Well, and if any of you guys want to contact me later, I'm sure Paul has my contact information. You know, sometimes in these settings, it's hard to come up with something, but then later on down the road, you're like, oh, you know what? I should ask him that, you know, so feel free to send an email to me or call me or whatever. And I'll be happy to help. I want you to know that ICAN is here for your assistive technology needs, period, whether it's just information assistance.
Excellent. We'll make sure we get your contact information out in the follow-up email. I put some of it in the chat as well.
Okay.
So, thanks so much, Rick. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go to the next meeting.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody else stick around. Nick Morin is here from Boundary Care. And I know I see you on the call, Nick, and if you want to
I'm here.
Screen, you are, the time is now yours. So
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me. So as Paul said, my name is Nick. I am the Director of Customer Experience at Boundary Care. And I know I only have 15 minutes, now 14 minutes. So I'm going to hop right into it and kind of just let you guys know about the product and what we offer. So let me just share my screen here. I'm going to walk through a presentation. I'm not like overly professional, so if anyone has questions, you can interrupt me, but we'll just kind of walk through it. So breaking it down, what is Boundary Care? We are a person-centered solution working specifically with assistive technology, focusing on real-time alerts, reminders, and communication. More specifically, we are a wearable device. So we work with a specially configured watch that collects data points that fall into these 4 main use cases. We collected a lot of different data, and I will go through each one of those points in a second, but they all fall into these 4 use cases. So we do fall detection, seizure-like symptom detection, elopement, and behavioral support. So I am going to jump into the data that we collect for those use cases, but I want to give you an overview and show you kind of how our product works so you can kind of digest that a little bit. So your loved one or the individual that you're caring for would wear the Boundary Care watch. That watch will collect data in the background on its own. Nothing has to be done. They just wear it. It collects the data, sends it up to the cloud, and all that information is then sent to a personal device and also the web portal. The personal device is an iPhone, an Android, any smartphone that has the Boundary Care app. There you'll be able to access all the information that the watch is collecting and get alerts, push notifications sent to that device. The web portal is kind of a way to delve into those into that data, look at what the watch is collecting, get an idea of the day-to-day. You can look at data history, and I'll talk about that a little bit further in the presentation. But I wanted to give you a general idea of how the product works. So I mentioned those 4 use cases, the data that the watch is collecting. So all the checkpoints here, these are all the different data points that the watch is collecting at all times. A question I get a lot is, if I want all of these things, does it cost me more? If I want half of these things, does it cost me less? The answer is no. It will never cost you more. It will never cost you less. When you have Boundary Care, your watch is capable of collecting all of this data at all times. We can turn things on and off if there are things you don't need, but it's going to be able to do all this at once. So we do hard fall detection, we do emergency calling, we do gait monitoring, we look at biometrics like heart rate, O2 stats, heart rhythm. We do sleep monitoring. We monitor for rapid muscle movement with seizure-like symptoms. We can do activity tracking, so steps, calories burned, etc. We have a very robust GPS tracking system in the watch. You can actually build geofences. We call them safe zones around homes, schools, workplaces, any place that an individual is staying at and you want to know if they leave. We do safe itineraries. So if you have a high-functioning individual that gets on a bus every day and goes to school, or gets on a bus and goes to work, you can actually set up a safe itinerary, almost like a path, to make sure that they get from point A to point B at the right time. We also work in behavioral support. So besides the health monitoring, we also do behavioral support. What falls into that is your basic everyday reminders. So reminder to brush your teeth, make breakfast, take medication, stuff like that. And then we do de-escalation protocols. So when the watch detects that your heart rate gets too high, or your O2 stats start to drop, or if you have an individual that leaves the safe zone, we can actually send push notifications to the watch that will communicate with the person that's wearing the device, try to get them to de-escalate before an incident happens. Obviously, at the same time, the caregiver is getting those alerts on the personal device through the app as well. But it's just kind of a way to get ahead of the game a little bit. So we are a build your own solution. I hinted at that earlier. Everything that you see comes with the Boundary Care subscription, but we can pick and choose depending on who needs what. So these are all those things that I just talked about, kind of with little check boxes. So you can decide, what you want the watch to track and what you don't want it to track. So dashboard, kind of delving into the details a little bit. These are screen grabs, but I'm going to actually switch and show you a live version of this. So let me change my screen here. So first I'll show you the dashboard through the web portal. So this is, you log in on a computer, a PC, and you are able to access everything that the watch is collecting whenever you would like. Let me refresh this. So I'm wearing the watch right now. I have it set to only refresh every 20 minutes to save battery. That can obviously be much quicker, so that's why it says 17 minutes ago. But this is tracking everything that's going on in my body. So apparently my heart rate is high, probably because I'm presenting today. You get your O2 stats, sleep time, if there's been any help requested, anything like that. They all fall into these widgets. You can also go in and configure your alerts, set up your reminders, and pull data history. So all the data that's being collected is stored on our HIPAA compliant website. So if an incident happens with an individual, you can actually go into that data history and look at everything that happened building up to that incident, get an idea of what's going on, interior, but what are the biomarkers showing, kind of get an idea of like, why'd that fall occur? Why did this person, have an incident? Why'd they freak out? And then you can take that, export it as a CSV file. You can show it to a PCP. You can also just do a little trend analysis yourself and be like, okay, they get frustrated at this time of the day. Maybe we can intervene. It's really just trying to find a way to get to the point where you can stop incidents from happening before they do. I've never done this before, so I'm going to try right now. Let's see. Share screen. Start broadcast. See if this works. Oh yeah. All right. Here's my personal cell phone, so everyone. All right. So this is what the application looks like on the phone. It's a little laggy because I'm streaming it from my iPhone, but this is what the application looks like if you pull it up on your personal device. You can see you get a basic overview of all the health stats that's going on with the person. So again, this is all the data that's being fed from the watch that I'm wearing right now to the portal. So you get the immediate location of where the person is. You can see I set up like a little safe zone around the area. So if I were to leave that area, an alert would go out to the caregiver. You'd see the basic overview of, if the watch is being worn, that's the little check with the watch on the left side. If the watch is being worn, that will be green. If they're in the safe zone, green. It'll show you the battery life of the watch, make sure that's charged. And then below that is just like your overview of health status. So you can see the up-to-date heart rate rhythm, or the up-to-date heart rate, the O2 stats that are reading, and then no recent issues. So if I were to fall or have an incident, or if I requested help, which you can do through the watch, the individual can actually click a button and request help. That would turn red. It would send a notification out, and then next step would be you can call directly to the watch. So the watch is cellular enabled. You can be on Wi-Fi or cell network. It has its own phone number. So if I gave you the phone number for the watch I'm wearing right now and you dialed it on your phone, it would call the watch and it would auto answer. So you don't have to worry about clicking in, answering the phone. It will automatically pick up. If someone were to leave the area, you can do emergency tracking to get like up to the second information about where the person is to make sure that they're okay. You can tell authorities, this person has left the area and they are here. Just a way to make sure that everything's going well. It's an overview of what's going on with the person. That's what the app is for. Whereas the web portal is more to like dig into that data, figure out what's going on like on a macro level. All right, let me stop broadcasting there and I will hop back over to the presentation. So that's a basic overview of the dashboard. Types of alerts. So again, we are very, what we focus on is alerts. That is kind of our niche. That is what our bread and butter is. It's about getting alerts to caregivers. It doesn't matter if someone's heart rate gets too high or if they fall, if no one knows about it. So that is why we work very hard on making sure that the right alerts get to the right people at the right time. So we offer different types of alerts. If you have multiple caregivers looking after a person at once and all of them need to get this information immediately, we do the broadcast. So that will broadcast to all caregivers that are connected to the account. Then we have the waterfall. That is for if you are working with some, I don't know what you call them in Arizona, but DSPs or QIDPs. If you're working with them and they have like different shifts, so maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they work with them, and Tuesday, Thursday, they work with someone else. You can have a waterfall where one person will get the alert. If it's not acknowledged in whatever time you would like that to be, it will send it to the second and the third and so on and so forth. So those are the outgoing alerts. Then you have the incoming alerts. So I talked about the feedback. That's your reminders, your de-escalation protocols, feedback that's going to the individual on the watch, helping them get through their day, whether it's reminding them to take their medication in the morning, or it's, you know, your O2 stats are dropping a bit, or your heart rate's getting too high, you know, why don't you sit down so you don't fall? Or some people, they calm down with photos. You can actually send photos to the watch. All those things can be very configured and customized depending on who you're working with. And then of course, outreach. So I talked about, you know, the watch being cellular enabled. It has its own phone number. The caregiver can reach out to the individual at any time. And again, that auto answer feature is really nice. It doesn't have to be activated if you don't want it to be, but it's really nice for, you know, incidents that happen where someone falls or they don't want to answer the phone, and the watch will just pick up. And you can talk to them kind of like a two-way radio at that point. All right, so I'm running out of time here. The rest of the slides were more use case specific, talking about, you know, specific individuals and a problem that we had seen and what we were able to solve. So I'm not going to go into those. I want to leave a little time for questions, so I'll cut it off here. But if you have any questions about like a specific person that you're thinking of, and if we have any experience working with that type of person, please let me know, and I can walk you through, you know, some of these use cases: behavioral support, overnight care, and then fall detection. So yeah, I'll end it there because I want to make sure I leave time for questions.
So Nick, I popped your contact information into the chat. I'll send it out as a follow-up. We do have one question from Patrick, which is what kind of seizures does the app track?
Yep. So we do two types of seizures. We do the convulsive seizures, which are much easier to detect because we have the software that detects rapid muscle movement. Those are extremely accurate, and we work with those a lot more consistently than the non-convulsive seizures. We can track for non-convulsive seizures. What we're looking at when we're tracking for those is the O2 levels and the heart rate. It takes a little more cooperation with the family or the caregiver because we need to know when seizures occur, so we can look at the watch, see what was going on with the individual at the time, and then train the watch to detect those specific markers as a seizure. So it's the non-convulsive side is a little more more of a work through, whereas the convulsive seizures are rapid muscle movement. You see those shakes, and we're able to send that alert out.
We have a question from Dayton around the being able to get the rest of the slides, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I can absolutely share that with you, Paul. If you want me to share it with you and then you can send it out, that's fine.
Yeah, I think seeing those individual use cases will be pretty powerful to connect what you're saying to the.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
Hey, Nick,
I will send that out to you. Yeah, what's up?
So, hey, this is Brad with Anderson of Arkansas. So I'm on your website looking at the different packages. It looks like the Boundary Care Kit comes with everything in it, and then there's a Boundary Care Pro. And so is that it? So it looks like the Boundary Care Pro. It says devices are locked down, stripped of unnecessary apps, and no general access to internet. So if we have individuals that are have some extra like internet safety risks, but we still want to use Boundary Care, is that the kit that we would probably look at using?
That's a very good question. We actually work with Easter Seals in North Carolina, so it's nice to meet someone in Arkansas. Yeah, so that's a good question. So if you're going through the waiver using Medicaid, anything like that, we need to go through the HIPAA compliant Boundary Care Kit. That will strip the watch down to everything that Boundary Care needs. It will restrict access to the internet. It will only allow calls to people that you or the caregivers want to allow calls to. Same thing with the device. The device is completely stripped down. There's just the Boundary Care app, and that's it. It's just the Boundary Care app on the phone. So yes, it is fully stripped down. If you're going through the Medicaid, going through the waiver, we have to go through that process. And honestly, it's the best process to go through because it allows us to configure the watch to your specific needs, send the kit out to you fully ready to go, put it on, and you don't have to worry about anyone getting into something they're not supposed to.
So does that mean like we could not do the app only subscription?
So the app only subscription is really made for families that like just want to get the watch for, like they want to pay out of pocket, just buy an Apple Watch, put it on the person, and then they pay a monthly subscription fee like Netflix or HBO or something. In this case, like with talking to you guys, like working with Easter Seals in North Carolina, we do the whole kit option because it's just a way to make sure that they're getting what they need and there's no extra stuff being put onto the watch. When we send the watch to someone and we've configured it, we can remotely access it. We can fix things that break. If someone buys it off the shelf, we have no way of fixing those issues. So yeah, I would highly recommend going the kit way. And I didn't mention this, but the kit comes with the phone and the watch. So you don't have to worry about like having to get a device on top of the watch. The kit will come with a ready to go phone and a ready to go watch.
Okay, so if we, because you know we have we obviously have a wide array of individuals, but we've got some that are very independent, and so we wouldn't necessarily want to strip down phone or watch because they're using their phone to navigate the community and other things. So
if they have their own phone, you can download the Boundary Care app onto any device and log in and have all the access that you'd have on the device that's sent in the kit.
Okay.
The watch itself, we can't, unless you go the route you had talked about, with just buying a watch off the shelf and paying a monthly subscription fee. We can't send that out with it just fully unlocked. We have to configure it. We have to strip it down just to follow guidelines with Medicaid and waiver.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
No problem. I'm going to sneak back in. We're a couple minutes over the hour. So there's probably other questions out there. So Nick's information is in the chat. It will go out in the follow-up email. So I encourage you to reach out to Boundary Care and get all of your questions answered and engage with them. And that brings our session today to a close. I'm going to stop the recording. We will see you all next Thursday for the next speaker series. And I appreciate you all showing up. Thank you, Nick, for coming in.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.